What up, wise guys? It's your wise girl Alicia, and today we're talking about digital privacy. Understanding how the internet works is pretty important, especially because so many of us have a lot of our lives online. It's how we purchase things.
Well, I was shopping online and I couldn't decide which one to get.
How many Korax can there be?
Lynn, so many.
It's how we get information and research.
Umbrella, umbrage, umami.
No.
Noah's Ark, no doubt. Nordstrom Rack, ergonomics, Urban Outfitters, cool.
It's even how we connect with others. Which is why I think it's just as necessary to learn how to protect your online self as it is to protect your in real life self. So what exactly does it mean to be safe online? Well, there are some themes about safety that are pretty universal, and I'm pretty sure you've heard of them. Like stranger danger. Stranger danger is usually told to kids so that they don't, run off into a shopping mall or get into a stranger's car. But this idea of avoiding people you don't know or strangers can also be applied to our online interactions as well. Just like you wouldn't give your phone number or address to some stranger you met on the side of the road, is the same as you wouldn't give that to a stranger that you've never met online. Because you don't really know who's behind those messages, and there's like a ton of scams out there. So the best thing is to practice stranger danger and just not share your personal information with people online. Another thing to do to be safe online, which I'm sure a lot of you already do, is to know and check your privacy settings. Make sure that you know which accounts you have that are private and which accounts are public, and that you're comfortable with all the settings that you chose. One really easy way to do this and find out which accounts are public and which accounts are private is to Google yourself. I know, it sounds super dumb to Google yourself, right? But it can show you the information and images that come up in your digital footprint, because our digital footprint can literally be our entire online presence. Because a really important concept to remember is that everything that we post online is permanent, like literally everything. And I know that Snapchat and a lot of other apps say that they delete files, but there's always backdoors to like all of these apps, and there are ways to retrieve information even if it's been deleted. And it's also important to remember that even if you did delete something, that doesn't mean that someone didn't save it or download it or screenshot it. I mean, how many exposed videos have you seen where people have all the receipts because they took screenshots while something was happening? So aside from remembering that everything we post is permanent, something else we can do to help keep our online presence safe is to create strong passwords. And also, never share that information online. It's just better to never share your personal information, because the people who already know you, they don't need to know your address or school. So always be wary if someone online is asking for those things. It's also important to be aware and careful of fake news and false information. So the false information could be someone lying about who they are, but fake news can also be really insidious. In fact, fake news travels like super fast and a lot faster than real boring news. So something to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out, is this real or not? Think about, 1, does it sound too good to be true? And 2, would a lot of people need to keep this secret? If those things are true, then it might not be real. And along those lines, if you get emails or DMs from people you don't know and they're sending you like links and things, don't ever click on those links because there might be viruses in them. When those things come through, you can always block or report the message or the sender. Every single social media app has an ability to block or report content. This is a great way to kind of curate and control what you see on social media, especially with trolling behavior. With trolls, it's often best to just disengage and block them, or you can report them if they're being offensive or harmful. And if social media gets overwhelming, and I know it can be, it's important to know that you can always take a break. The apps and games will still be there even if you take some time away from them. Because internet safety isn't just about how to stay safe online and protect your passwords. It's also how much time you spend on those apps. And just like anything else, if social media, gaming, or even shopping online is kind of taking over and we lose ourselves in it, it can have negative impacts on real life things like our school performance and sleep. And so sometimes it's important just to unplug and get away from a screen. She says knowing she's on a screen right now. It's kind of meta. Not only does time online and on social media make us forget to do homework or forget to go to sleep. But it can also have some negative impacts on our mental health as well. Usage on social media often makes us feel anxious or stressed, and not just young people, but adults too. Because on one hand, we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, either in the images we see or follower count, like numbers, viewer count. And when we constantly compare ourselves to others, this can make us feel inadequate and thus make us feel anxious. And FOMO, the fear of missing out, can contribute to this because we place such importance on the interactions that we make online. This can cause us even more anxiety. And then there's the other hand, especially with so many different news stations and media outlets, it's really easy to get overwhelmed and stressed by alarming and distressing content, because that kind of content can trigger the lizard brain. It triggers that fight, flight, or freeze response. And it's so hard to think calmly and rationally when that part of the brain is engaged. And so what happens? We're sitting in our room, maybe on our bed, and we're taking in all of this information, but none of it is actually happening to us. We just get sucked into it. Someone coined the term doom scrolling in 2020, and I think that's pretty accurate, where you're just like glued to your phone and you can't stop scrolling because terrible news is happening somewhere. But because it isn't happening to us directly, we are flooded with this information to fight, flight, or freeze, but we can't actually do anything about it. So what happens? We get stressed and anxious. This can lead to bad sleeping habits, which means then we're bored at night, so we check our phones. That makes us stressed, so now we can't sleep. It's a circle. So how do we break that cycle? How do we stop the cycle from comparing ourselves constantly to others online? And then how do we also stop the doom scrolling? The easiest thing to do is to take a break. Take a step back from social media or maybe technology altogether. For example, what I like to do, because I have definitely been stuck in that doom scrolling, is I've started cooking more. I find a recipe that I like and I spend some time away from my phone and just enjoy cooking. Some other things you can do to manage your screen on time if you don't like to cook are to simply turn off your phone, even if it's just like an hour a day. Or you could always leave it at home if you're already going to be out with people anyway. Or if you're going to have a meal with friends or family, you can always have a no phone zone so that during that meal, no one checks their phones. This is also a really good technique to help bonding and foster some healthy friendships and relationships. Another easy thing to do is to try to set limits. Like, I won't check my phone before breakfast, or I won't check my phone after dinner. Turning off notifications can also be a really helpful tool because then you don't have that automatic response to, check your phone or check the app because it doesn't have that icon or it doesn't have that sound. There's lots of techniques you can try to help reduce your screen time. But the main thing is to try to pick something that feels healthy for you. Social media and games will always be there waiting for you when you come back. And if you're worried that your friends might think you're avoiding them, you can always just let them know, like, hey, I'm gonna go spend some time doing something else. I won't be by my phone. This will set a boundary that you are taking some you time and that they can take their own time. Digital privacy and our digital lives are interwoven into our real life. And I think it's important that we treat it as such because we want it to be a part of our lives that is healthy for us. And so with that, I'm going to end the video here. My question for you all today is, if you were getting stressed or anxious online, what would be one technique you would try to limit your screen time? Leave the answer in the comment section.